There we go. So welcome everyone. My name's Alison Watts. I'm here on behalf of the Southern Cross Postgraduate Association, and we're happy to be collaborating with the SCU Library and presenting Advanced EndNote Workshop. So 2 weeks ago there was the Beginners Workshop, and I think some of the student feedback was very encouraging. They found certain things very, very helpful, some good tips and tricks. So I'll just hand it over to you, Jill and Cynthia. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll stick around and just help with the chat box or anything like that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I wonder, can we just have an indication of the people who are present who came to the first workshop? If you just want to put your hand, sign on, or put a message in the chat. Excellent. We had a few questions from the second survey that we did, so we'll hopefully have time to run through all of those issues. There weren't that many issues. And did anyone have any difficulty downloading and installing the software? That's, I guess, another important question to ask.
Yes, it's important to have the software installed and ready to go so you can kind of follow along. Yeah.
I guess that's the benefit of having the recording though too.
Yes.
So
Lauren had no problem. Nicola did beginner and advanced years ago. Okay.
Great. So I think one of the first questions we had was about losing saved references. So we thought we might just start with saving your library. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll run through just saving your library because that's really important to do. There we go. So let me just pop that up a little bit. So with your, with anything that you're doing, with anything that you're working on, of course, it's best practice to back up a copy. Now with EndNote, it's important to do that continually while you're working with your library. So the best practice is to back up your library before you share it, before you, submit your document, before you upgrade to maybe a slightly different version. So when you go through your software program to upgrade to the next version of EndNote, we recommend that you back up your library before you do that. So there are a couple of ways of backing up your library. You can see here there's save a copy or there's compress. Now, in most circumstances, we recommend that you compress the library because that puts together the two files that are involved with your EndNote library, and it keeps them together in the one sort of compressed file path. You can do save a copy, as I said, and a lot of people will sort of hit that automatically, but it's much better to go to the compressed library. The only reason that you might do save a copy is if your EndNote library is extremely large. So we're talking about more than 65,000 references or 4 gigabytes. You wouldn't be able to compress it. You would then have to save a copy. So if I just go, compress library, this option comes up, create all references in the library with file attachment. So I generally just keep it in the default mode here. You can also just choose to select references that you've got in a particular group or group set. But if I just go next, it'll come up with your file path options. Now, even though when you're working with an active EndNote library, we always say you need to have that library shared, stored, I should say, on your local drive or your C drive. When you're backing up a library, you can back it up to a network drive or a cloud drive. That's no problem. But if you go to then retrieve that compressed library, then you'll need to save it back down to your hard drive. when you want to open it up. So if I just check what I've got here, so I might just put a new folder and call it backups. And then you would probably use the date string. So you could put all your backups in the one spot just using the same folder and just changing this path. So if for some reason your library became corrupted, you can go back to your most recent backup and try and see if that library remains functional. And if that one didn't work, you can go back to the previous one. So just save it by date. So if I do that, and then we'll go and see if we can find it again. Interesting. So, files backups. Oops, SMD, it doesn't work. There we go. So, I'll just put that over. It went into the wrong folder for me. There we go. So as you can see, it's just one type of file. So if I had chosen to do the save as, you would see two different icons in there. So that's really important to do on a regular basis. And then when if you need to use that library, you can just go open library and find your path where you've saved your backup. So anybody got any questions about backing up? If not, we might move on then to the next topic. So I'll stop sharing.
Thanks, Jill. So let me just share my screen now. So I'm going to go over smart groups and duplicates and simple and advanced searching in your Endnote library. We did have some responses about duplicates in our survey. So if you're here and you had that question, this is for you. So smart groups are really useful to use. They'll save you time organizing particular references. And yeah, I definitely recommend getting to know and use smart groups. You can, it just saves you manually organizing the references. Can everyone still hear me? Okay. Yep. Okay, cool. So there's a couple different ways that you can create, well, there's really two different ways really that you can create smart groups. The first and most straightforward way is just to go up to your groups at the top and then create smart group. So you'll see that you can name the group and you'll see all these different elements that you can use to organize the references. So this, you can create a smart group before you even start putting your references in, and you can create a smart group when you already have the references in. If you create it when you've already got your references in, any references that meet the criteria of your smart group that are in your Endnote library will automatically go into that group for you. And if you create it without having any references in, once you download and import those references in, they'll automatically go into that group. So for example, maybe I've already got quite a few references in my library, but maybe I wanted to find the references that have nursing in the title, for example. So I would name my group nursing in the title. I would change this field to title. You can see there's all these different options here depending on which field you choose in here, but I would leave that for this purpose as contains nursing. Obviously, you can put in more elements, and the more elements that you put in, obviously, the more narrowed down and very specific this group becomes. So this is a really powerful tool to use. But if I just do create like that, it's created it under the My Groups on the left there, nursing in the title, and it's found 4 references that I have in my library that contain the word nursing in the title. So you can see how useful and quick that can be. I could also do another one. For example, maybe I want to find, I know I have a lot of newspapers somehow that found their way into my library when I was importing a whole bunch of stuff. So maybe I want to separate all those newspapers from all my references. So in that case, I'm looking for the reference type, which would be newspaper. Would put that in, and I can create, and now it's grouped all those newspaper references for me in that particular group there. So yeah, that's smart groups. You can see it can be sort of as basic as that, or you can make it you know, more complex the more fields that you add in. Now up here, this is where you can search for particular references in your library. Depending on where you have selected, what is where it will search. So if you have a particular group selected and then you're using this search function up here, it will only be searching the references in that group. So usually it will be in the all references field, unless you have a group that, say, you've imported from perhaps a database like I have down here, and you want to search particularly within that group. But this is the other way that you can create a smart group. So if you're, maybe I want to find, what am I going to look for? So maybe the year is greater than perhaps 2015. So I'm looking for anything that's been published since 2015. Search, and it shows me I've got 131 references. So if I wanted, say, to create that, make that into a smart group, I would just convert that to a smart group, and it would add it on the left-hand side there. So there are all my references that I know that have been published since 2015. What you can also do with this search function is you can save a particular search that you've done, and what that does is it saves it as a file, and then say you have imported some references and you want to rerun that particular search for some reason, you can just double click that file and it will rerun the search for you. But in saying that, if you've already created a smart group from that particular search, you wouldn't need to do that process. So that's smart groups. Sorry if that was a little bit quick. I just don't want to run out of time today. So in the first session, we ran out of time, and we want to have questions at the end of this session. So if it's all right with everyone, I'll move on to duplicates. So often when you're importing references from a variety of different places, you will have duplicate references. And to manage those duplicate references, if you go up to Library on the top, you'll see the option to find duplicates. So once you click that, this little temporary folder is created. So that's only there when you're actually finding the duplicates. And you can see it tells me I've got 16. And what Endnote will do is it will show you the duplicate references that you have. The reference that is on the left is the first or original reference that went into the library, and then this is the duplicated, the second reference. So you have the option of which one to keep. So you would simply compare the two. If you, I don't know, maybe you will know that maybe the original one is the correct one that you've been using maybe in your Word document, and somehow you've realized that a second one has gone in. So you would always want to keep, if you know that you're using that particular reference in your Word document, you would want to keep that. You wouldn't want to keep the duplicate because that would cause problems. So you would keep that one, and then it goes to the next record. So I want to keep the original. And then it shows you the next one. If for some reason you didn't want to delete any, you can just skip. Keep it. Keep that record. And so that's how you go through all the duplicates. And you can see behind me, it's going through the duplicate list behind me. Jill, did you just unmute yourself?
Yeah, just one of the other, you take that opportunity to scroll through the different information in the duplicates. If you haven't really started using the references and you're just sort of going through screening them, and one of those copies, one of those records has got the PDF attached, well then yes, you would keep that one, even if it was the second one. And the other thing is that if you click cancel, you'll still get that duplicate references tab on the side, and you will see them there as Chincy has there in her duplicate reference, and you can have a look at them there. You can highlight the reference in that folder, and normally what happens is that the original one will be highlighted, but you can change that highlight by clicking the other one and choose to delete that reference in that format rather than the side-by-side format. And you can also, when you have that box up with the comparison side by side, if you think, oh, well, that one's got a lot more information in the fields, but the one on the right has got the PDF, you can just copy and paste that information from the field from the left over into the box in the right. So it's a useful way to look at the attached information to a reference as well. That's all.
Thanks, Jill. So you can see once I went through all of the duplicates, they're all gone from here now. This was the only one that was left, and that was just because I skipped it when I was showing you how you can skip them if you didn't want to delete it for some reason. So you can go back later and compare that one again if you decided that you wanted to re-look at that. So that's duplicates.
Cindy, there's a question in the chat box going back.
Oh, yeah.
Going back to the smart groups.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see that.
It's okay. So Nicola's asking, if I make a smart group, will it automatically add new relevant items? So
yes.
That's really about making sure new items have the keyword. Say you were doing a group by nursing, for example.
Yes. So if your group was nursing in the title, and then you had just done another search in a database and you were importing those results that you had, any of those results that had nursing in the title would automatically go into that smart group. Yeah, so it automatically organizes it for you.
But could you do add a keyword? Do you use keywords to make
yes, yes. Let me just open up.
So if it's not in your title, it could still belong to a group of reference.
Yeah. So that's only because I selected title for that. Then anything that has nursing in the title will go into that one. But you can choose particular authors. You can choose particular year, like I did before. You can choose particular journal publications. You've got keywords here, so you can add keywords. You can add a couple of different keywords as well. If you change that all to keywords, you can see, back up there, keywords there, also the abstract as well. So that would be very specific, which would be very useful as well. So you can really set it up in a huge number of different ways. You can see all the different options that you have there, and then you can also customize options as well. If something you were looking for wasn't there, that you wanted to really group things in a certain way. So it's really powerful. If you're really interested in using smart groups and knowing more about it, I would recommend watching some of the Endnote advanced videos on smart groups that Endnote Clarivate themselves make. They don't run for too long, and we have some on our LibGuide, but you can also get them from the Clarivate website as well. Sorry, I should just...
Thanks.
That's all right. I'll just stop sharing now. Was there anything else in the chat that we missed?
I think we're good.
That was
was
all
fabulous.
good.
Yeah.
Great. What was next? So next we want to go to Cite While You Write. So we started doing this at the end of the last session, but we sort of ran out of time. So we wanted enough time to cover that. Let me just get up my work. Oh, was I going to do this, or were you going to do it, Jill? I don't remember which one of us said we were going to.
I think you were going to start.
Yeah. Okay. I'll start.
And I'll just check if anyone can put in the chat, have they actually started using the Cite While You Write function? Just let us know, and if you've got any questions, I'll try to monitor the chat.
So I just want to make that a little bit smaller just so the Zoom screen doesn't hide the top bar. So many of you might already be using the Cite While You Write function. Hopefully you haven't encountered too many issues with it. But there's a couple different ways that you can add in references. You can see this is something that I already started here. First thing I suppose to check is make sure that your reference style selected here is the same as style that is selected in your Endnote software, in your Endnote library, because you want them to match. So if you wanted to insert a citation, you can either go to Endnote, or you can insert citation from here as well. So if you insert citation and I got to try and think of an author who I might have in there. So you can see this is works well if you already have an author in mind and you're thinking who you would like to put in there. So you can, I'm just going to select that first one, for example. And if you just press insert, it's going to insert it automatically with the author and the year in the brackets. If you select the little arrow, you can choose how you want it to be displayed. So maybe you want it to be displayed with the author's name and the year in brackets. Maybe you only want to have the year and exclude the author. Maybe you want to have the author but exclude the year, or you just want to insert this particular reference in your bibliography and you don't want it to be in an in-text citation. So I might choose this one. So you can see I've got my author et al. Because there are a number of authors in that particular reference, so it automatically does that for me. And then it adds it into my reference list down the bottom here. Now, if I decide, hey, I want to do a page number in there actually, I just need to click on the reference and edit and manage citation, and then pop in a page number. So maybe that's going to be page 4. Press OK, and then it adds it in for me. So if you popped in a reference and you needed to edit it for any particular reason, that's the what you would select, edit and manage citations. The other way of popping in a reference is going to Endnote. So it will open up your Endnote for you. If you select your reference, perhaps I want to go in this one, Winchester, and then I want to go to, whoops, Cite Riley White, insert selected citation. And then that adds that in for me there, and it also adds it into my reference list. Jill, did you want to add anything in there? Are you still muted?
Sorry, I'm just yelling at the back of Chinsey. How about, like, say for example, you're using APA 7 and you want to put that reference heading at the top of your references, and you want to double space your references. So that little thingy, yeah. I don't know what you call that little thingy in the corner.
So sorry, I'll just unmute myself. So if you wanted to add references at the top, you can click on that little, I suppose it's like a little pop-out arrow in the bibliography section in the menu. And this is where you can format your bibliography. So for some reason, if you wanted to link your in-text citations to references in the bibliography, maybe you sending something electronically and you want the person who's reading it to be able to do that, you can select that so that when they're reading it, they can click on the in-text reference and be taken to the particular reference in the bibliography. So that is an option. If you choose layout, you can see you can select obviously your font and size, the bibliography title, references. You can see it's already set to my hanging indent here. You've got your line spacing here, which you can set as well. I'm just going to put that as single actually. And then once you press OK, then it does it for you. So I think we mentioned in the first one, and if you've been using this for a while, you would know that when you click on it and it gets highlighted like that, it means that it's connected. Those references are connected to your Endnote library and Endnote software. Now, when you need to submit an assignment, you obviously can't submit it when it is connected to your Endnote library. So if you're putting it into Turnitin or something like this and you want it to get checked before you submit it as well, you need to save it as a plain text document. So you would save a copy as it is connected to Endnote. And then once you have that saved copy, you would select Convert Citations and Bibliography and convert to plain text. It's just saying that because I haven't actually saved it as a copy with the references in. But say that I had, I would just select save as plain text, and now it is no longer connected to the Endnote library. It's just plain text, just like a normal document. And that's what you want it to be when you put it through Turnitin or submit your assignment online. Editing references. Were there any questions? Let me just open up the chat.
We just had a couple about author number, which is all outlined in the guide, the APA 7 guide, for example, for referencing. If you're using Harvard, you can check the Harvard Lib guide to deal with the number of authors. But the thing with Endnote is that the style, so Chinsey is using APA 7, that style is already preset. Maybe, Chinsey, if you show them in the style edit how the number of authors is dealt with, like between 3 and 20 and that sort of, so the APA 7 style has certain requirements on how you deal with between 1 and 3 authors, between 3 and 20 or greater than 20, and that's all built into the actual referencing style in Endnote.
So you can see here, so sorry, I'll just go through those steps. So I just went back to the Endnote software and I went to Tools and Output Styles, and sorry, Jill's just told me I need to reshare. Share. There we go. So I've got my Endnote open. So I've just gone back to Endnote. I've gone up to Tools and Output Styles, and then Edit APA 7th, because that's the style that I've selected and I've been using. So you can see you have a whole list of everything about the style. So this all automatically gets input. This is automatically input into this particular style that comes with Endnote 20. But you can edit anything in here depending on how you want it to be and how you want it to show up in your particular documents. I have never edited anything in there. I've never needed to. So, author lists here. So sorry, that was the question. So number of authors. So you can change that if you have a particular preference for that. List all authors' names. You can see if 3 or more authors, list the first author and abbreviate with et al. So you can change that if you so wish to as well. There's also omit the author list here or replace authors with this. I think in Harvard, when in the reference list, when it's a number of references with the same author, it ends up using this little symbol instead of repeating the author's name. But that, again, that would already be inbuilt into the Harvard style. But if for some reason you're finding that there's an error or something, you can go into Endnote and edit the style to your particular preference. So I hope that covered that question.
Question about changing the capitalization. I wonder if we have an example.
That changing the capitalization
in your journal title.
Oh, sorry, yes. Okay, so let me just find, let me just double click on this. So when you double click on your reference, it should come up with this little summary on the right-hand side. And here it shows you, I can make that bigger if I like as well. It shows you what your reference will look like depending on the style that you have selected. If the capitalization is not correct, all you need to do is go in and edit. And this is where you can edit your authors if there's a something that's not right. If you can edit the capitalization in the title. Sometimes references will come in the capitalization's wrong, and obviously the capitalization in the journal title as well. So any edits you do in there, once you finish, any changes that you make, you'll have the option to save them, and then that will save the reference. And if you've already been using that reference in a Word doc, once you go back into your Word doc and select update, can you see the Word document now? Yeah, select update citations and bibliography. Any changes that you made in Endnote will automatically then be changed in your Word document. So yes, Jill, did you want to?
Sintamani, can I
Yes.
ask a question? Can you go
Yes.
back to, you had your page up just with some references in, and we're talking about editing, changing and making capitals and things like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes there'll be full stops after certain things, and when you download a reference automatically, you know how it puts everything in how it's supposed to, but often there's just like little mistakes.
Yeah.
So do you need to be putting full stops anywhere? Is there generally like, oh, after author you put a full stop, or is there sort of a plan? Because I've noticed with the book chapter there was no full stop between the name of the chapter and then the book. It just runs into one long,
When you put that reference in.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, do I put the full stop in?
It should do it automatically. So let me just reshare. stops?
Because I know I've had to learn to put full stops after some authors' names, especially if they have an initial. So I think I have to put a full stop in that case. Otherwise, it thinks that it flips it.
So I think what you're meaning is the elements in here, if they're not correct, then they're not translating over to your Word doc, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've got any. I wonder if I have any books in here. Let me
Yeah,
just...
or if there's a book section, so you know how it's like, the title of the piece, but then the name of the book's actually called something else.
Yeah. Let me just see if I've got any books in here. Okay, cool. So let me just open that. They probably don't have much information. They haven't been edited at all. Okay, so yeah, they don't have much information at all. That's the title. So if it's a book section, like a chapter you're talking about, it has to be, you have to select book section. It can't be book. Otherwise it's not going to translate over, right?
Yep.
So if this was a book section, for example, the title of the chapter was Project Management 101. For example, and then let's just do a dummy reference here. And the book title is Project Management Australia, for example.
Yeah.
Now I'm just going to put that into the Word doc and see what happens. Hopefully this is going to be answering the question.
Yeah.
So you've got the title of your chapter, for example, and then the title of the book.
Yeah.
So if I save that, and then I go to here. Can you see the Word document now? Okay, let me just reshare. Word document. Now insert citation. I'm going to look up for the project management. Was this one? So if I insert that, oh. What's happened there? Oh, sorry, I've got my, no, instant. Oh, there we go. Update. So that's put it there. Oh, and it started a new one here, sorry, because of what I did before.
Oh, yes, and I can see that full stop after the 101.
Yes.
Yeah, mine, I've just been playing with it and mine hasn't got that for some reason.
So
but maybe I just need to update.
Are you using APA 7th?
Yep.
Okay. And it's all in book section. Yeah, so it's automatically put that in. Try updating it, but if you want to have a one-on-one appointment, so we can share screens maybe and see what's happening on your end.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe that that would be a good thing to do. You can find Jill or my own name and we can have an appointment about it. Or yeah, that might be the best thing. Because we still have a few things to cover in the session and we're starting to run out of time, but it should automatically go in for you like that. If it's a book section and you've got the elements in the right fields in the reference in Endnote.
Yep, no worries. Yep, cool.
Okay, thanks, Narissa.
No worries.
I'll just do a quick share of just in regards to the capitals of the journal title as well in the reference. Another way to have a look at that is by looking at the terms lists. So when you're entering in references into EndNote, terms lists are created automatically. So you've got author term lists, journal term lists, and keyword term lists. So the journal term lists, it looks like this when you open it up. So you've got a list of all journal titles, how they would appear if you selected to display them as abbreviations, then they usually have abbreviation 1 and 2. So one of the ways that you can do that is if for some reason your reference is not displaying correctly, is just to check what the title looks like in the journal term list, and you can edit it in there. So like if I highlight it on this one and then click edit, you can make sure that it's appearing as it should be there. And I guess the other thing to mention about terms lists are the author terms lists. If you, for example, have got multiple references by the same author, but that author's name is entered differently in a few different references, sometimes Endnote won't recognise that that's the same author. And this is also where you would fix that. So you could go in here and you might see the surname is the same for the multiple references, but then maybe the first name and the initials, there's a variation. So you really need to select which one you want Endnote to display and delete the other terms. But again, that's sort of getting a little bit complicated. And if you find that, you know, in your document that that's a problem that's occurring, you can make an appointment and we can help you fix that up. So just wanted to do that. So what are we up to now, Chinsey? I've lost track.
We're also looking at a question from Dr. Ong in the chat box about putting a project name in as an author.
Yes, I had a look at that article.
Yes,
and
so did I.
International Rice Genome Sequencing Project and Takuji Sasaki. So if they are an author, you would just, and I mean, obviously they are an author on this particular article. You just need to put a comma after the end of project for their name to be displayed correctly in Endnote and then be transferred into your Word document.
So I could do that, for example, like if you created a reference, if you're putting in La H as an author, and then you want, you know, the organisation of funny people, something like that. People, and then you just put a comma, okay? So that would make Endnote recognise that all of those words as a group of author. Okay, we won't keep that funny person.
I think we're up to Endnote Online and sharing your library. Unmute, Jill.
Sorry. So I'll stop sharing. And I think, well, you've already shared a library with me, but maybe if you just show them how that you shared that library, and then I can open up and go through the...
Sorry, yes, that's how we were going to do it, remembering now. Okay, let me just reshare my screen. Lots of sharing and resharing here.
We're very organised, as you can tell.
Okay, so I've got my library open and I want to share this particular library with Jill. I would go File, Share. You can search for the people that you would like to share with. If you know the email of the person, you just pop them in there. You can see I already tried to share my library with Jill, but she still hasn't accepted my invitation. You can see it's pending here. I've given her permission to read and write so she can make changes if she wants to. So once you've, and to do that, I've just selected read and write down here. If, for example, you just wanted to share, but you didn't want the person to be able to make any edits, you would choose read only. So once you have all all the people that you want to share with, you've added them in here. You press obviously invite, and then they get a notification. So Jill's going to show you what it looks like on her end for that notification.
Okay. So I haven't done this before, so this will be a good experiment. So in my email, I got the email from Chintzy. It looks like this. It's shared an Endnote library with you, accept the invitation. So if I click on that, let's see what happens. So I can't remember what I got here. I'm already... I hope I've spelt my name right. Oops, no, I haven't got the password right. Oh, I think I've recently changed my password. Hang on a sec. Let's go to my note. So I should have in here options download. Should give me the option in here to it just takes me back to that one. Sorry folks, I'm just not sure what.
So Jill, do you have to have a Clarivate account to kind of share? Is that what?
Well,
You have to have an Endnote online.
an online account, yep.
I see.
But I thought it might just immediately sort of appear in my in my options here rather than right, organize. Just having a look. So maybe if I share it the other way, are you logged into yours, Chintzy?
I'll just have to quickly log in to my Endnote online.
We've both broken our Endnote over the last couple of days through overuse, I think. So if I go,
okay, I'm logged in.
okay.
Manage my groups.
Okay, manage my groups. So you can select to share just groups. So if I just click that one and then go, if I want to share that one and go manage sharing, and then you'll get this message saying start sharing this group. And you can enter email address. Go read and write and apply. So it tells you that one email address has been added, and then just go close window.
Okay, and so then now if I share my screen, you'll be able to see. Let me just share mine. You'll be able to see what it looks like on the other end. Okay, so before we were in Organize, Manage My Groups when Jill chose to share that group with me. To see the group that's been shared with you, go to Others Groups, and then you'll see the invitation there. So if I want to use that in a Word document, I can select that, and that makes sure that I have access to that particular group and I can use it in my Word document. So yes, we should have, we kind of jumped forward with that sharing thing. We didn't mention that you do need to have an Endnote Online account. So you have the desktop version and then you have also Endnote Online. So that's completely free to make. Let me just get up our guide. Can you see the guide now?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, great. So if you go on our guide down to Endnote Online and library sharing, it just takes you through making Endnote Online. Basically, you just have to go to the website that I was at before. The website's called My Endnote Online or something. Where is it? Here. My Endnote Web, sorry, here it is at the top. Yeah, I'm just going to paste that into the chat. And you'll just be prompted to sign up and make an account. Where's the chat?
The important things though to remember with, and you know, we're certainly not saying that you need to do this EndNote Online. The important things to remember are that you need to sync your desktop library with your EndNote Online account, and you can then, you know, go ahead and share. So you definitely don't have to go down this path, that's for sure, and we can offer you sort of more help if you need to share. There are other options like using a traveling library, a document with the traveling library if you just want to share that with someone. I think we've done that before, Chinsu, too, haven't we?
Yes.
And there's a good question there from Zoe about sharing library between Mac and PC. Do they talk to each other?
Yes, you can do that.
Oh, that's good. That's
the other, I guess, benefit of having an EndNote Online account is that you can access then your EndNote library from multiple devices if you need to.
Yeah, so if you've got your EndNote Online and your EndNote desktop, but maybe at home you have like a computer, not a laptop, and then you want to go into uni and you have to use a uni computer, you can log into your EndNote Online and still have access to your EndNote. You just need to make sure that they are synced. I think that we did have a look at syncing briefly.
You can see that sync status, yeah.
But once you've made your EndNote Online, just go back to your desktop, and if you go to sync, and you can see my sync status, you can see it's connected to my online library there. But just go to our guide and go to the EndNote Online, and it has the steps there if you need it.
And really, EndNote Online is its own separate tutorial, I think, as well. you could do a whole nother session on that, you know, if people wanted to do that. So look, I'm just really going to go quickly now over long documents.
Oh, great. Good.
Just share my screen again. So the best practice for if you're doing a thesis or a really long document is to break it up into chapters. So each chapter is one document. So I've just made quickly 2 documents, call them chapter 1 and chapter 2, and I've got my Endnote library open as well. So what you need to do, so you can see that each chapter has got its own references down the bottom here. So got a couple of references in there just as an example. So what you need to do at the end is combine them into a separate, so say you had 20 chapters, you want to combine them at the end. So the best thing to do is to make a new blank document. So that will be your final document. With these, each individual chapter, you need to convert, and you don't convert to plain text, do you? No.
No, unformatted.
Unformatted, yeah. Convert to unformatted citations. So that takes away that little highlight, and it has also taken away the bibliography or the reference list. So you do that for each one, convert to unformatted, and then basically you just need to copy and paste each section to the new document. Where's my chapter 2? Which is quite tedious, but I can imagine it would be quite tedious. But unfortunately, that's the best way to do it. And then once you've got all that sorted and you've got it all set out how you want it, you then just go update citations and bibliography. Better turn that formatting on. There. So what you end up is with a combined document with your complete reference list at the end. Now there's much more information and help in the LibGuide for Endnote that we've got. Let's have a look. So if you go to the Endnote LibGuide, there's a section on long documents and working with long documents, and some general tips. This video is really, really useful about formatting, and the other thing that it includes in there is if you use sections in your thesis. So say for example you use section breaks because you put in diagrams and things like that. There's some tips about doing that with Endnote. The other, I think I wrote down some tips in here. You can merge your multiple chapters from your documents because you've got all the references coming from your one Endnote library. Okay, so even though you've got multiple documents for your chapters, you're only using the one Endnote library. You can have multiple Endnote libraries feeding one document, but for the multiple Word documents, you can only use one library. Yes, so this video has got great tips on using sections or how to use sections with Endnote. And also, if you're doing a systematic review using a Prisma flowchart, there's a great video from JCU, and that the link to that is there. And that's largely about organising your groups and helping you do your screening of articles in a systematic review and organising them into screened and unscreened, and also organising your groups into folders for each database that you're searching. So it's a really neat video as well to watch. Okay, so there's a few chats happening there, so just check on that.
Yeah, Adam's got a good question about, is it, Adam, that you mean like numbering your reference list from 1 to 50, say?
That's right, yes. I've read a few papers, some of the Nature papers, rather than the authors, they have, you know, a numbering system throughout the paper, and at the end it's all 1 to 50 or whatever.
So that will be the particular journal style. So rather than having an author date style, it's a numbered style.
That's right,
of
yes.
referencing.
Can that quickly be changed at the end?
Quickly, that's a good word. You know, that would be, you know, you'd need to select the style. So if you knew the journal style, so let me just share my screen again.
I suppose what I mean is, obviously, if a paper goes into a different journal, then you don't really know about that until after you've written the paper.
Yeah, of course. So what you would then do is change your, so, you know, up here, I've got the referencing style as APA 7, and in EndNote it's APA 7 as well. So the output style is APA 7 is ticked. So you would find out, you know, well, if you're going to submit to that journal, what style referencing do they have? So you open your style manager and you can search for that particular style. So often on their website, they'll say, you know, we want this particular style. For example, Taylor and Francis have got their own modified APA 7 version, which I think I've got.
Yep, great. That's great.
Yeah, so you would just pick that style, but make sure it's applied not only in, so that's like, for example, that Taylor and Francis one. So you have to pick it in here in EndNote, but you also have to select it in your Word document, so up here as well. And then you just update your citations and bibliography. Okay. So there are, you know, there are ways to do that. So you can do your complete document in one particular style and then change the referencing style. That's no problem.
That's great. Thanks a lot. That's great.
Okay, excellent. Should we wrap up? There's another quick question there.
Oh, another quick question.
What
Does it just
to
fall off my computer?
Nicola's asking once
it could. It could. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So the EndNote that you have access to, it is through SCU. So if you're no longer a student here, yeah, I don't know how much longer it continues to work or what happens to it, to be honest. So yeah, if you get a job at like another institution or you study at another institution, they would normally have access to EndNote. So what you would do is you would save your library from here, and then whenever you get access to EndNote through another institution, whether you're working or studying, you could just reopen that library. No more study.
Oh, come on. You say that now, but, you know, give it a few years.
Yeah, you need to get over the PhD first. I remember back in the day doing my PhD in the library, handing out EndNote on a disc.
Wow.
So then you've never lost access, if you know what I mean. I think I'm still on version 9.
Wow.
It works, well, you know, it works.
Well, that's only the version before 20, so don't you know.
Oh, so I'm not that far behind.
No, so
And,
X9 was before 20.
It
So-
is easy to change to version 20, hey, because we started off with that, just kind of save and back up your Endnote library first.
Yep, and your library will open up fine in Endnote 20.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Alright.
as Chincy said, if you have any particular difficulty, you can make an appointment to see
right.
your librarian. Maybe not so much about EndNote Online, but we always try and help work through any problem and do a bit of troubleshooting.
Yes. Great. Well, thank you so much. That was a fantastic session. Terrific. I learned a lot, which is really good. So we'll
We
finish
did
up
too.
there. Oh, great. As you said, you nearly wore out your EndNote software.
We
Yeah.
did. It's crashed several
Practicing.
times.
Well, that's
Thank
fantastic.
you, everyone.
Thank you. I'll stop recording there.